Welcome to this week's Maryland's Missing and the Murdered. Maryland's Missing and the Murdered is a weekly YouTube channel that covers the topic of missing and murdered individuals from the state of Maryland. This week, I am covering 4 cases of women murdering their husbands. In my opinion, 2 were justified, and the other 2, well, let's just say one was crazy and one was greedy for insurance money. In 1964, Barbara Mortensen met her future husband, Lorne Peterson. Although Lorne was an alcoholic, Barbara felt like she could change him. Unfortunately, for 25 years during the marriage, Barbara was abused. There were incidents of him throwing her on a car hood and beating her up, being kicked in the stomach while pregnant, hair pulling, smacking her in the face, and repeated threats of killing her. He would tell Barbara that him killing her was a promise and not a threat. While living in Virginia in the 1980s, Barbara filed for protection with the court numerous times. In 1983, a judge had had enough and forced Lorne to go to rehab. They later moved to Marydel, Maryland, where a service technician installing a phone line at the Peterson's home spoke to Barbara. Barbara was crying, and she told him that Lorne was always threatening her life, and she'd started to carry a gun at all times. On November 17, 1991, Lorne Peterson was sitting in his recliner watching football around 1 p.m. Barbara Peterson walked out of the bathroom and told him that he was not going to kill her. When Lorne attempted to get up from the chair, Barbara shot him several times. Barbara then went to her daughter's home and called police. Barbara was arrested for Lorne's murder. During her trial, many people testified on Barbara's behalf. Their children testified to being witnesses to the physical and psychological abuse. Barbara's friends testified that Lorne was making death threats on a daily basis. Psychologists also testified. They stated at trial that due to years of abuse, Barbara felt like her life was in imminent danger, basically calling it battered woman syndrome. An expert elaborated that Barbara was suffering from a dissociative disorder due to the abuse. On November 23, 1992, Barbara Peterson was found guilty and given a life sentence. Barbara Peterson passed away on September 11, 2017, surrounded by her family. Kimberly and Steve Hricko was married in March 8, 1989, and a year later they had a daughter. Problems in their marriage began in 1997 when Kim had an affair. At that time, Kim was a 33-year-old surgical technician, and Steve was a 35-year-old golf course manager living in Easton, Maryland. For Valentine's Day 1998, Kim and Steve were celebrating their weekend at a golf resort. That night, there was a fire in their room and Steve was dead. Kim tells police that she had left their room to go meet a friend in town, and when she returned, she saw smoke coming from their room. She called the front desk for help. Steve was pulled out of their room by a hotel worker. Firemen noted that the fire had started on or near the bed, but by the time they had arrived, the fire had burned out. Kim told police that Steve was drunk and that he must have died from the smoke. However, autopsy results disputed that. Kimberly was arrested for Steve's murder. At her January 1999 trial, Kimberly's co-workers testified that she was unhappy in her marriage and wanted to be rid of Steve. One co-worker testified that Kim offered him $50,000 to have Steve killed, and that Kim was to receive $400,000 from the life insurance. Prosecutors alleged that Kim probably injected Steve with a drug that stops a person's breathing, and that she told a co-worker how she was going to do it. Kimberly was found guilty, and on March 19, 1999, the judge sentenced her to life plus 30 years for arson. Currently, Kim is at the Women's Correctional Center in Jessup, Maryland. 36-year-old Laura Rogers was married to Walter Rogers for 11 years. 3 years into the marriage, Walter became abusive. He would not allow her to socialize, work, and was physically and mentally abusive. In 2000, Laura's daughter told her that Walter had touched her chest. At the time, they were living in Mississippi. Police investigated, but the charges were dropped. They moved to Laurel, Maryland, and in 2003, Laura's daughter told people at school that her stepdad, Walter, was sexually abusing her. Crying to police that his stepdaughter was lying, he persuaded them to charge her with filing a false police report in juvenile court. In April 2004, Laura's daughter was 7 months pregnant. Laura thought someone from school got her daughter pregnant, but she told Laura that Walter was her child's father and that she could prove it. She said that there was a videotape hidden in the house showing the sexual abuse. On the evening of April 22, 2004, Laura Rogers found the videotape, and when she saw what was on it, she knew she would never allow Walter to hurt her daughter again. In the early morning of April 23, 2004, Laura grabbed the shotgun that she had under the bed and killed Walter while he slept. She called police and claimed it was suicide. However, when police started to doubt that story, Laura's daughter said that she shot him. Laura, knowing that she could not allow her daughter to take the rap, told police what really happened. Laura Rogers was arrested and she agreed to plead guilty to manslaughter. After the judge reviewed the video and evidence of battered women syndrome, he sentenced Laura to time served. Laura Rogers was released from jail on November 9, 2004. Laura's daughter's baby was adopted out and DNA confirmed that Walter was indeed the father. The last murder I have for you today is the murder of Ron Koontz. Ron Koontz, a 59-year-old teacher, was married to fellow teacher Mary Koontz. They lived in Glen Arm, Maryland with their 17-year-old daughter Kelsey. Their marriage had not been an easy one. In November 2007, Ron asked the court to have Mary undergo a psychiatric evaluation due to her, quote, anger and rage, end quote, as she had been hospitalized in the past. She had also more recently been physically abusive to him. Kelsey also told the court that she feared her mother. The court approved a restraining order and Mary Koontz moved to Florida. While in Florida, Mary Koontz would call the family home up to 30 times a day, cussing at Ron and Kelsey. On June 19, 2009, Mary Koontz flew from Florida to her former home. Mary got into the house and shot Ron in the bedroom. Mary went to Kelsey's room and shot at her as well. Fortunately, Mary missed Kelsey, who locked her bedroom door and called police. Still alive, Ron and Mary fought all the way down the steps, out the front door, and were wrestling on the front lawn when police arrived. Unfortunately, Ron Koontz died on the way to the hospital. Mary was arrested, and during her trial, she's testified about the night she murdered Ron. She said that it was like she saw herself in a movie. Mary Koontz was found guilty, and on August 9, 2010, she was given a life sentence. Thank you for joining me this week. If there is a Maryland's Missing or Murdered case that you would like to see on this channel, email me at marylandsmissing@gmail.com. Music is by Silent Vengeance. Sources will be listed in the outro. Please like and subscribe. Click the bell so you will be notified when the next cases are released. I will see you again next week. Be kind to one another. You never know what will happen tomorrow.